Good morning on this beautiful late September morning. It's about 9:30. I've had a wee bit of a sleep in this morning, so I'm just having my coffee. And of course those of you who are familiar with Bealtaine Cottage know that this is the microgreens box. And I carried it over from the tunnel a couple of days ago and just put it here on this table, so it would be handy for me to come out from the kitchen and cut salads. Now I've already cut, this is about the third cut I think actually, because I've been cutting this back now for the past about 3 weeks, 4 weeks, something like that. And you see lots more now coming up. So it just keeps growing. It's sort of cut and come again. And those of you who want to know what I sewed in this, the original video is back on the timeline if you have a little look. I think I planted this up. I sewed this up about, I'm useless on time, 6 weeks ago, something like that. That's the cows. The cows are on the field next door, over to the right of me. So I've also been picking figs. Now there's another couple of figs which are ready to pick. And I've picked most of the grapes, but you can see there's still a few more there. Now I've been bringing a few bits and pieces over from the Lunacy garden that have obviously got far too big. This is one of the little, now what's the name of it? It's a little pine, but it's a soft needle pine, so it's not prickly. And I've been growing that on in a pot, and you can see the roots have come out the bottom. So it's got far too big for the pot, just in the space of a year. So I'm going to find a place to plant that, which is going to be difficult because I don't have much space left here at Bealtaine Cottage to plant anything. Let me just get into the shade a little bit so we can see the arch. Now it's going to be a busy day today for me because I've got lots and lots of work to do outdoors, as well as finishing off painting the chairs, which I'm going to bring out onto the veranda this morning and get those painted. So I'm looking forward to a day full of work. I needed to have another little gingham curtain for the kitchen over to the left of the kitchen window. So last night I was listening to a play on the radio, Radio 4, and that's the BBC. And so I sat and I hand sewed the little curtain. I'll show you that just as we go back in. The rose hips are beginning to turn this beautiful colour, this lovely orange. So that's going to look fabulous once those colours have deepened. And the dogwoods beginning to lose their leaves. I think we'll walk up to the stone circle. Now, I spread some ash from the stove on this big piece of bedrock, so it's now quite safe to walk on because it had got very slippy. The season of mists and mellow fruitfulness. It really is turning into a perfect autumn. The temperature on the little garden thermometer is sitting between 8 and 9 degrees centigrade. This morning, it's quite a cool morning, which is to be expected here, you know, during autumn. And little birds come down and underneath there. So between 8 and 9 degrees centigrade is about 47, 48 degrees Fahrenheit, something like that. So the cows are right over there on the other side of the fence. So we'll walk up this way. Now, someone said to me, is there any more space left in the stone circle for prayer flags? Absolutely. Masses of space. If you want to send a prayer flag to hang in the stone circle, you know what size and what material. So it's got to be no bigger than 10 centimetres by 5 centimetres. And it must be a natural, biodegradable material. Make sure there's no polyesters or man-made products in it. It must be able to go back into Mother Earth. So I've started to knit a little blanket for my bed, and of course that's been knit in pure wool, because that's something else we have to be very wary of. A lot of the so-called wool that you buy in the shops is man-made and will not biodegrade. It will not go back to Mother Earth. Well, it will, but it'll take an awful long time and a big struggle on her part. So I only knit in 100% wool or cotton. So I'm also hoping to get down into the lower woodland this morning, or today, maybe this afternoon, and cut back a few of those great big, I won't say willow trees, because they're not trees as such, although they're almost the size of trees. So for example, that willow there, you can just see it. I wouldn't actually call that a tree, but there you go. If I was to include willow in the tree list for my garden, I think there'd be a couple of thousand trees growing. But anyway, I have to get down there and cut some of it back and bring it up to the barn and cut it up as firewood. See, these are trees here. This is a sycamore. And this is a sycamore. Two of them fairly close together. And this one here is a willow. But I wouldn't, like I said, I don't call the willow trees. They're a pioneer species, and they don't have the same... Now, of course, you can get willow trees. You can get the big weeping willow, and there's a few other varieties which grow as trees, especially by riverbanks. But, and in fact, I'm just wondering if this here wasn't one of those species, because I made this little willow arch, you see, several years ago. See the little bird's nest up there on the top of it? Look at that. But then part of the arch began to grow away on its own and turned into what does look like a tree. It's certainly very tall and very sturdy. In fact, it's growing, there's two pieces of it growing out there. So that's an interesting one. But anyway, I just have this little thing in my head that I don't call them trees, because you can just literally stick a piece of willow in the ground and away it grows. Whereas trees, I suppose, from my perspective, will grow from seed. Though willow grows from seed as well. The cows are calling to one another. And cows are very sociable, you see. And they're actually quite family orientated. If you ever watch a cow with her calf, and then you watch the sister cows in the field with that particular calf, you will realise that cows are very family orientated. And I kind of see the cow, you know, with her calf, and then I see the kind of gathering of aunties around the calf. Oh, there's many, many, many reasons why I no longer eat meat. Although I don't describe myself as vegan. But quite happily just plant-based. And that way then I'm not held hostage to dogmas. Because I don't like dogmas. I spent much of my life coming away from dogmas of religion. So I'm not going to be drawn back into any dogmas. I live the best life I can. And I'm happier living it without killing animals. These are the great willow stumps. As you can see, the willow grows from what was pollarded. So a little robin following me around. Such a beautiful morning. And the oak tree, the leaves are starting to colour as well. So you can see lots of chop and drop has been going on here. I built up a great big nest of chop and drop, which of course will provide homes for all kinds of little creatures over the course of the winter. Keep them safe, away from harm, able to make that journey through to the spring. There'd be frogs and all kinds of little creatures in there. And so I go, making little piles. See, there's a little pile that I made last year. Just through there, you can see. And as it composts down, as it biodegrades down, the habitat becomes like a food hall for them, you know, because lots of little insects and other sources of food emerge from it. So here's the Lunacy garden, looking a little bit more like a garden, though I'm nowhere near finished. You can see I've got lots and lots of work to do. But you can see Buddha now. There's another one of those little soft fir trees. I think they're called Serbian spruce or something like that. And I've done a massive chop and drop on here. You begin to see that as the season progresses. As it begins to rot down, you'll be able to see the mounds of it. It does look untidy, but this isn't one of those gardens where man holds sway. It's a garden where Mother Earth holds sway. It's her garden. We're not here to dominate her. And twist her and tie her up, that she can't move, that she can't express herself. This is where she's able to express herself, and at the same time have me here to do the tidy up. I'm the housekeeper. You see lots of those greens on the right hand side of the table. They're doing well. There's a new compost heap started there. This is a little pine tree which I've got to plant out. That's just one of those Sitka spruce, but I've no objection to the Sitka spruce. What I object to is the monoculture planting of it. So the temperatures have held up quite good around this old compost heap because the nasturtiums haven't begun to die back yet, which is lovely. So yesterday evening I was over here, I was emptying the compost buckets, 2 of them, one from the shed and one from the bathroom in the house. And of course I put them into those big bins. And so the hedges were quite high, so I thought, okay, because this is how I work, very much on demand, work on demand. So I went back over and I got the secateurs and I came along and I just trimmed back the hedge on both sides, so you can see here. And of course you can see now the cherry tree emerging in the background, and I trimmed back a little bit of the overhead trees. Didn't want to get poked in the eye. So that's very much how I get things done, and it's kind of like an organic way of working, because you do what you see needs to be done at the time that you see it. There's the sun shining on the rowan tree, look, just on the other side. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? No wonder it's a magical tree. Little wonder. Beautiful. So I've got quite a lot of compost here ready to put out around trees and all over the land. We're slowly bringing the fertility of the land up more and more and more. And there will come a point when people who visit here say, oh, you're very lucky, this is good fertile land. But people already say that, unaware of the year in, year out labour of love that's gone on here, slowly bringing the fertility of the land back to where Mother Earth had it set in the first place. So, little archways, Virginia creeper on them, rose hips, and people say, what do you make your archways out of? Well, anything, really. Here there's ribes and Virginia creeper, blackcurrant and rose, and you just twist it and wind it and tease it together until you've got the makings of an archway. It's like this recipe thing, you know, people looking for recipes. If you start engaging with the land, you'll find that you can make an archway out of almost anything. If it starts to grow upright, or it starts to grow at all, you can bring it into shape, and then Mother Earth makes her own archways. Look at these apple trees, look at that. There's another archway, look. And that's a sycamore tree and a spindle bush. We come out of the direct sunlight, you can see it. The spindle is beginning to colour down as well. That goes the most incredible shades during the autumn. Looking down into the fairy wood. This is a little sort of a secret entrance. Hardly ever use this. Still drinking my coffee. Now I would just go into the house, into the cottage, and I'll show you what I was sewing last night. Now that I've got my slippers well and truly, not wet, but certainly very damp. Leave them in the sunlight just to dry out. This looks so healthy, doesn't it? And it is. Some more apples there. Okay, I'll just put my coffee down for a moment. Come on, Jack. So this is the curtain I was making. And, let's see now, where's the... So I've stitched... I'll show you the wrong side of it. Let me just put this down. That's it. So I've stitched a little tube to put the wire through. So this is where the wire goes in. See into that little tube? It's stitched on both top and bottom. There. This is quite a long piece. It's about 8 feet, maybe longer, of gingham. Look at the chair. Huh? So this is where it's going to go here. See? Just underneath this worktop. So I'll be doing that today. So you won't be seeing that bare space anymore. It'll be covered with a gingham curtain, similar to what's going on here. No, and someone asked me to remember them yesterday in the lighting of a candle, which I've done this morning. Someone who's become ill. Lots of little birds out there. So on that note, I'm going to say, have a lovely day, everyone. and blessings to you all.